picture a typical suburban street. You've got two neighbors living side by side.
Right.
Maybe they wave when they get the mail, but they live in totally different worlds. One goes to the mosque on Fridays, the other to the synagogue on Saturdays.
Different foods, different holidays, different languages. It's the classic picture of diversity.
Exactly. Separate tracks. But then imagine a moment that just stops everything. Death. And if you were to look over the fence into both of their lives in that very specific window of time, you'd see something remarkably strange.
You mean how similar they are?
I mean, it's almost a mirror image. We spend so much time talking about how distinct Judaism and Islam are, but going through this stack of research, honestly, it gave me goosebumps.
It is fascinating. They're often called the children of Abraham, and I think nowhere is that family resemblance stronger.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to take a comparative look at death, burial, and what comes next in Islam and Judaism.
We should say some of the details, especially about how the body is prepared, they really make you think.
Oh, completely. The part about what you can and cannot wear in the grave, that stuck with me.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have to start at the beginning, the moment of death. And in both traditions, the first response seems to be, well, just speed.
It's not panic, but it is intense urgency.
Yeah, help me understand that. Because in, a typical Western context, you have time. You take a few days, maybe a week, to plan things.
Right, wait for family to fly in.
But here, the sources are all saying 24 hours.
Ideally, yes. In both Islam and Judaism, the goal is burial as soon as possible. Same day is the gold standard.
That sounds incredibly stressful. You've just lost someone, you're in shock, and now you have to sprint to organize a funeral.
It sounds harsh, but the intent is actually about dignity for the deceased.
Dignity.
Yeah. In Islam, the belief is you don't keep the deceased waiting. You return them to God and to the earth. Delaying it is seen as almost disrespectful.
So it's a final act of service.
Exactly. And Judaism shares that exact feeling. In fact, they have a name for that state of shock and stress you mentioned. It's called ananut. Ananut. What does that mean, practically? It's a kind of legal category. If you're someone in this state, the religion basically says, we know you can't focus on anything else.
So they give you a break.
A total break. You are exempt from almost all positive religious duties. You don't have to pray. You don't say blessings. Your only job, your entire focus, is arranging the funeral.
That's actually kind of a relief. It gives you a mission when you're paralyzed.
It does. And there's another reason for the speed in both traditions, and it's very practical.
Which is?
No embalming. Strictly forbidden.
Right. No chemicals, no cosmetic work.
Which is a huge departure from the modern funeral industry, where the goal is to make the deceased look lifelike.
Like they're just sleeping.
Right. Islam and Judaism both reject that. The body is alone from God. It came from the earth and has to go back to the earth naturally.
It forces you to confront the reality of death. You can't pretend.
You can't. And that leads to the next step, which is it's one of the most touching parts of this whole thing.
The vigil.
The idea that the person is never left alone.
In Judaism, that's called Shmira, right?
Shmira, which means guarding. A shomer, a guard, sits with the body 24/7 until the burial.
Is that for, security? To make sure nothing happens to the body?
I mean, historically, sure, that was part of it.
Yeah.
But spiritually, it's about comfort.
Comfort for who?
For the soul. The Jewish mystical tradition suggests that right after death, the soul is confused. It's hovering near the body, bewildered. It's a scary transition.
So the guard is there for the soul.
The shomer just sits there, usually reciting psalms, just to say, I'm here, you aren't abandoned.
That's really beautiful. It's like when you're born, you're not left alone. When you leave, you shouldn't be alone either.
Precisely. And while Islam might not have a formal title like shomer, the practice is almost identical. The family and community step in immediately. There's a constant presence, reciting the Quran, praying.
So the message is the same. You are still part of this community.
You are not just remains, you are a person.
Okay, so we've got the speed, no chemicals, constant company. Now, the preparation itself, the washing.
This is an intensely intimate ritual. In Islam, it's called Ghusl. In Judaism, Tahara. And honestly, if you saw both, you might not be able to tell them apart.
And this isn't done by a professional mortician, usually?
No. Ideally, it's done by the community. In Judaism, you have the Chevra Kadisha, the Holy Society. They're all volunteers.
That's a heavy responsibility.
It's considered the highest form of kindness because it's a favor the person you're helping can never, ever pay back.
So what happens in the room?
It's very quiet, very respectful. Men wash men, women wash women. They keep the body covered as much as possible for modesty. It's a physical cleaning, but also a ritual purification with water.
And the sources mention specific scents, too.
Yes, in the Islamic tradition, during the final wash, they often use camphor or lotus leaves in the water.
Camphor, that's a very strong, cooling smell.
It is. It transforms the space. It becomes a sacred act, not a medical procedure.
And once the body is washed, it's time to get dressed. And this is that detail I mentioned. I always assumed you were buried in your best suit or something.
That's the Western custom. But here, absolutely not.
So what do they wear?
In Judaism, the body is dressed in takarchim. They're simple white linen garments, hand-sewn, very plain.
Okay.
And there is one specific detail about them that is non-negotiable.
What's that?
No pockets.
No pocket.
Not a single one.
Wow. That's a statement.
It is the ultimate statement. It doesn't matter if you were a CEO or if you struggled to pay rent, you are buried in the exact same outfit.
You can't take anything with you.
Not a single dime. It's the great equalizer, and Islam is virtually identical. It's called the kafan. Simple white sheets wrap the body, no zippers, no buttons, no brands.
It strips away all the status we spend our lives building up.
It forces everyone there to look at that and say, okay, this is where I'm headed to.
So the body is washed and wrapped in white. Now, the funeral service itself, this is where a few theological differences start to appear.
Right, the structure changes a bit. In Islam, the funeral prayer is the janazah. It's what they call a fard kifaya.
A communal obligation.
Exactly. If enough people from the community show up, everyone's covered. But if no one shows up, the entire community is considered sinful.
That's high stakes. It pretty much guarantees you'll have a crowd.
It does. But if you were watching a janazah prayer, you'd notice something missing.
What's that?
Well, you know how Muslims pray with the bowing and the prostrating, forehead to the ground?
Right. That's the iconic image.
They don't do that in the funeral prayer. They stay standing the whole time.
Why the change?
Because prostration is only for worshiping God, for Alana. And if you bowed in front of a coffin, it could look like you were worshiping the dead. So they stand to keep that line crystal clear.
That's a fascinating distinction. And on the Jewish side,
The service has psalms, a eulogy, a prayer called El Malay Rakamim. But the real similarity comes back when we get to the actual burial.
the coffin. Or, I guess, the lack of one.
Exactly. In strict Islamic tradition, and in many Jewish traditions where it's allowed, the preference is no box at all. Just the body in the shroud directly into the earth.
In Islam, don't they dig a little niche for the body?
They do. It's called a lahad. So the body can be positioned to face Mecca, but it's direct contact with the soil.
And what if they have to use a coffin for legal reasons?
In Judaism, if they do, it has to be simple wood, usually pine. And here's the kicker. Absolutely no metal.
No metal, no nails, no handles.
They use wood dowels and glue.
Why?
Well, partly for decomposition. To dust you shall return. Metal slows that down. But symbolically, metal is the material of war. Swords, guns. It's seen as offensive to bring an instrument of war into a place of eternal rest.
A peace treaty with the earth, that's profound.
And then comes the sound.
Mm.
If you've ever been to one of these funerals, you know the sound.
Shoveling.
Yes. In both traditions, the community fills the grave. Not the cemetery workers. It's the family, the friends.
I've been to a Jewish funeral where they did this, and the sound of the dirt hitting the wood, it's a thud you feel in your chest. It's brutal.
It's the most final sound in the world, and that's the point. It shatters any denial.
I've heard there's a custom of using the back of the shovel at first.
There is, to show reluctance, to
Wow.
physically say, I hate doing this, I don't want to say goodbye.
It's a physical expression of grief, and in Islam.
It's tactile, too. Attendees will often place 3 handfuls of soil into the grave while reciting a prayer about being created from the earth and returning to it. Get your hands dirty.
So the body is buried, everyone goes home, and this is where the two traditions seem to really diverge in how they structure grief.
It does. If the burial is all about similarities, the mourning is about different strategies for the same pain. Judaism is incredibly structured. It builds a container for your grief.
This is Shiva, the 7 days.
Right. For 7 days, the immediate family stays home. They cover mirrors, sit on low stools. The community comes to them. You don't work, you don't cook. You just grieve.
It's like a prescribed breakdown period.
It is. And then it steps down. The first 30 days, shloshim, you go back to work, but no parties. For a parent, you recite the Kaddish prayer for 11 months. It's a slow reentry.
And now compare that to Islam, where the standard mourning is 3 days.
3 days, yes.
That can sound, honestly, a little cold. 3 days and you're done.
It can, but the theology is different. There's a huge emphasis on accepting the will of God. Patience or saber.
Yeah.
Excessive, prolonged public mourning is discouraged because it can seem like you're protesting God's decision.
So it's not about suppressing grief, it's about accepting the outcome.
Right. You grieve, you cry, but you don't fall apart.
Mm.
You trust that they are with God. But there is one major exception to that 3-day rule.
The widow.
Yes, the Ida. For a widow, the period is strictly 4 months and 10 days.
That's incredibly specific. Why?
Well, practically, it was to establish paternity if she was pregnant. But psychologically, it recognizes that losing a spouse is a fundamental restructuring of your life. It's a protected time to heal.
I also want to clear up one thing from the sources, this idea of the 40 days, that the soul wanders the earth.
I'm glad you brought that up. That is a cultural belief, not a religious one. There's no ghost phase in the Quran. The soul moves on. People might have a memorial at 40 days, but it's for the living.
Okay, so the soul moves on. This brings us to the biggest fork in the road. Where do they go?
This is where the mirror cracks. Islam gives you a clear map. Judaism gives you a philosophical debate.
Chuckles. Okay, let's look at the map first.
Islam is very explicit about the akhirah, the hereafter. This life is a test. When you die, your soul enters a state called barzakh.
Barzakh. What's that?
Think of it like a waiting room. The soul stays there until the day of judgment. And on that day, there's a bodily resurrection, an accounting of your deeds, and then a destination. Jannah, which is paradise, or Jahannam, hell.
The stakes are incredibly high.
They're eternal. And that drives your behavior in this life.
Now, Judaism. One of the sources had that great quote, Jews believe in life more than the afterlife.
That sums it up perfectly. The Jewish Bible is obsessed with this world, with tikkun olam, repairing of the world we're in right now.
But they do believe something comes next, right?
Yes, but it's fuzzy. There's no one single view. There's a concept of olam haba, the world to come, and a place called Gehinnom.
Is that hell?
Not in the eternal fire and brimstone sense. Think of Gehinnom less like a prison and more like a spiritual washing machine.
A washing machine for the soul.
Exactly. Your soul needs to be cleansed of its mistakes before it can enter God's presence. And the maximum cycle is thought to be 12 months.
Wait, is that why the Kaddish prayer for a parent is only said for 11 months?
You got it. You say it to help them through,
Yeah.
but you stop at 11 months. Because if you went the full 12, you'd be implying your parent was so bad they needed the full deep clean.
I love that. Mom was good. She only needed the express cycle.
Ah, chuckles. Exactly. But the focus is always on the here and now.
It's amazing, though. You have these two different theological engines, one driven by Judgment Day, the other by repairing the world.
And yet, they arrive at the exact same practices for how to treat a human body with dignity.
It shows how much these rituals are for us, for the living. We need to do this stuff.
We need to wash the body. We need to throw the dirt. In both traditions, death isn't a medical failure or a business transaction. It's a community event.
You are held by the people around you.
And you are held by that white linen. That's the image that sticks.
The no pockets rule.
It's the ultimate reality check, isn't it?
It really is. And it makes you wonder if both of these ancient traditions insist that we leave this world with absolutely zero, no wallet, no phone.
Huh.
Why do we spend so much of our lives trying to fill our pockets while we're here?
If the pockets are empty at the end, maybe the point is to focus on what we carry inside.
That's a deep thought to end on. If you want to dive deeper into any of this, please check out the source material. It's a real treasure trove.
There's always more to learn.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.